Hi, I'm Edith Zimmerman. I'm a writer and artist. I live in upstate New York, and I send out a newsletter called Drawing Links.
So one thing that I really, when I think about your work is really honest. And I'm curious, have you always been good at being honest with yourself?
No. I mean, that's a tricky question. It's like, you think I'm being really honest, right? But yeah, it's like there's all these much deeper pockets that I'm like, geez, are we really getting into this? So in the stuff that you've probably read, like a lot of the comics are pulled from my journal. So it's like I wake up in the morning and I do this journal every day, and I do comics about like whatever from the day before stands out to me, and then like weeks later, I'll go back and look at it and publish some of it. Cause like for whatever reason, I just like want to share parts of it. Like I still not really sure, but it's like this compulsion and I just want to share it. Cause sometimes I'm like, oh, I got something just right. Or I don't know, something just worked. But I go through and I like reread my own journal entries. And sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, this is really good. Or I like this. Or other times I'm like, oh my God, I can't. This is horrible. So it like sort of informs how I make journal entries in the future.
It's really interesting because I think that that's a lot of what I want to talk about, right?
Okay.
Is like kind of that compulsion to share. Like, how do you find the line between like something where you're like, I want this to be out there versus something that you don't want to be out there?
Well, it feels very important that it be true, which is like the honesty, therefore, is like imperative. And sometimes there's stuff that's honest, but it's like ugly. And I'm like, I'm not going to share that. Or like, it doesn't make me look good. So I'm like, well, we're not going to. Like, sorry, how do I decide what to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think you answered it there too.
Yeah. It's like I want it to be real and to kind of come across as the way I experienced it, and to be flattering to other people. Because like I like really try not to portray anybody in a negative light. Like I'll kind of like rant privately, but I try not to publish anything negative about anybody.
So I journal every day too. And I have a friend who journals every day and then they destroy what they journaled. I think they used to like literally burn the pages that they wrote, and now they journal electronically and then just delete it.
Delete.
And they're like a huge proponent of this.
Okay.
And that's not how I do it.
Yeah.
Because I want to preserve the things that I'm experiencing, but I sometimes wonder like, am I journaling for me or am I journaling for an audience? And who is that audience? And I wonder how that's changed it for you if you literally are doing it for an audience. Sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like the crux of, one issue for me. I mean, so I started this journal. The journaling was just regular writing, and then I was starting a second journal where I was doing just drawings. And eventually the writing and the drawings became like journal comics that I do every day. And every so often I was like, man, these 3 panels came out in a way that I like really pleased me. And so I started a private Instagram account just to like my 23 friends that I like manually signed up for it. I was like, I just want to show you guys like this moment. Cause I think I was like really lonely or something, or I was going through sort of a rough, whatever. Like I just wanted to, they were just little snippets. It was almost like, I don't know. It would just come out just right. Anyway, so I was sharing it on Instagram, and then that kind of snowballed, and eventually I was letting anyone who knew me follow me if they requested it, and then I put all those comics in a newsletter instead of on Instagram, and it got recommended places, like other people were kind of promoting it, and then it started to get like bigger and bigger. I mean, it's not like huge or anything, but it got big enough, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna charge money for it. This will be my job. I'm gonna get, I'll support myself with my cartoons, like, this is a dream, and I just have to live my life and then write these little charming stories about it. But like the money stuff didn't really work out the way I thought it was going to, because I had this like goal I wanted to hit, and then I just like didn't get there in the time I thought I was gonna get there. And also like I had a certain amount of savings that I was using to get to this place, and then it just like it was really disappointing. And like meanwhile, like this is my real life, like I'm sharing real stories from my life, but this, like it sort of caught up with me. I don't know, the way I visualize it is like, it sounds kind of cheesy, but it's like the tide. Like you're kind of running with the water a little bit, and like, are you being real or are you making stuff up to share with people? Like, are you thinking about what people are gonna think when they see this, or are you really just sharing your private thoughts with yourself in your journal? And it helped to have some distance between the two, but eventually with this sort of first iteration of the newsletter, I found I was sitting down. I had like kind of run out of stories, but like I knew I was supposed to post something in my newsletter because there were people who were paying for it. And it's like, you hear people being like, yeah, it's okay. It can come out whenever. Like the people who are supporting you, they just want to know they're supporting you. I'm like, yeah, but this is a product I'm creating. Like I told people I was going to send it like X amount of times a week or once a week or whatever. Like I just haven't sent it for 2 weeks. Like this is a problem. Anyway, and I'd be sitting down like, okay, I have to write like a charming story about my life that people are gonna love. Like they loved the one about the dog. Like that one was cute. Like, so don't write about how you're mad at your husband, or don't write about or don't da da da. Anyway, so it just started to like, I don't know, it just was difficult. And I refunded everybody. I just like kind of shut off the newsletter and I refunded everybody and just like quit, kind of. I mean, I was just doing it privately for myself. And then I restarted it last fall just because I felt like, I don't know, there was some distance and I wanted to do it. And I had this whole new like business idea for myself, which was that I would not ask people to pay for the newsletter. I would instead use it as an advertising device for my other realm, like my greeting cards and my art prints. Because I was like, oh, I'm going to take myself seriously as an artist. People will buy my art. Like, that's what I want. I don't want them to subscribe to my stories. I want them to buy my art because I'm an artist now. So the version of the newsletter now is I write the journal stuff, and then 2 months later, I look through it and I publish stuff. And that has seemed like enough of a cushion that I can maintain the integrity of just journaling for myself and kind of silence the voice that's like, well, what's going to be a good story for your fans? And I find myself like writing something and it's like kind of, I'm like, I could never publish this. Like, what's the point of even following this thread? It's like, well, it's important. I have to just get this out. I have to like just write whatever comes out.
It seems like there's these threads of like honesty and like creativity and then also vulnerability and like figuring out what the right level of those each is for you, especially when something is public. I think that like, even when you're describing like, I didn't feel like this was right, so I stopped doing it entirely. I refunded everyone. That's kind of, to me, like being honest with yourself. Like, this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And this is not sustainable. Have there been times in your life where it was harder for you to be honest with yourself?
It's hard to say, right? Because sometimes like, well, maybe I still don't know, but well, whatever. I'm like, how do I talk about whatever? The first thing that comes to mind is like, I drank really heavily for a really long time, and I was, I knew it was too much and a problem for me, but I was like, yeah, but like, it's the only thing I like, so I'm not gonna like stop drinking. It's like, even though it's clearly like ruining my life, it's also the only thing I enjoy doing. So like, what am I supposed to do here? I feel like I maybe I come across as really honest, but I think there's been times in my life where there's just like entire situations that I can't even look at. And only later can I be like, okay, eventually I was able to like be honest about them, but in the moment they're just like way too big. And I don't even know, like maybe I'm going through one of them now and I can't, not to be like mysterious, but it's like sometimes you just like can't even look at it. But anyway, so I was like a very, I don't know, like medium problematic drinker for like kind of a long time. Like for probably like 7 years, I knew I was like, this is not good, but like I can't really handle this right now because I'm just like not equipped. And then like one day I was, and then I stopped drinking.
But you've also been really public about sobriety and also like about creating a space, not just for yourself, but for other people to write about sobriety and to talk about it.
I write now, I do illustrations for a newsletter about sobriety, and I've like published stories about sobriety.
I just think like for myself, I also don't drink. And sometimes I feel like it's hard to claim sobriety, not because I drink or do drugs still, but it's like because I didn't have like a dramatic rock bottom moment. Like I feel like I don't drink and I like myself more, and there's all sorts of reasons why I am sober now. And so sometimes I think it's like weird for me to claim it, but all of it just to say, I think a big piece for me though was about like honesty, of just being like, you don't like the way you feel and you don't like the things that you are doing, and you are doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, that was the clarifying moment for me. It was like, what if you just were honest? Like, you don't have to do this. I think everyone has a different relationship to like sobriety and self-control and honesty. What's yours? What was your relationship with those things?
It wasn't like I was having car accidents and running up debt or something. It was just like very slowly my life was becoming incredibly repetitive. Nothing new was really happening that was meaningful. I just like felt gross. Like I just kept doing the same thing every day. It's like the thing that I used to do. It's like, okay, you go out, you have drinks with friends. Like who knows you're gonna meet? Like who knows what's gonna happen? Like who knows what funny thing you're gonna say? It's gonna be great. It's just like, it starts out like that. And then for me, it ended like, oh, I'm just like drinking like 6 glasses of wine alone at home. How did it get from there to there? The honesty part for me, I think, just came where I was like, well, yeah, that obviously is bad. But it's like what else am I gonna, like, this is the only thing that's fun for me. And I was kind of just like holding these two things that seemed, I'm like, I've got to solve this incredibly difficult puzzle. Like nobody else before me has dealt with something so challenging. It's like, and then one day I was like, no, it's not that hard. Like, it's not the one thing I like. It's like, I think I'm just like willing to see what life is like without it. And I had this book that I had bought 6 months earlier that was like, kind of gives you a new perspective on drinking. And I read that thinking it was gonna suck. Like the same day I decided I was like willing to try not drinking.
What was the book?
It's called Stop Drinking Now by Alan Carr.
Oh yeah.
It's like, it sounds crazy because he also wrote the book about how to stop smoking, and he also wrote the book about how to like stop using cocaine. Like, and he and his whole team have this suite of books about, if you decide to believe them or if you become compelled enough to believe them, the crux is the same. It's like all these things that feel so special and private and mysterious. It's like, yeah, they're addictions and they're just habits. And if you just break the addiction meaning like your body's used to it, it's a habit, it's a little cycle. If you just like unravel it and feel excited about unraveling it, like you're giving yourself something special and new instead of you're taking away something you love. Because I don't think I would have responded to feeling like I was gonna take away something I loved. You know, like, okay, now Edith, you can't have this thing that everyone else gets to have. You have to like live in like a time out for the rest of your life. It's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. But now it's like, I get to be in the special place and all the people who are still drinking are in the like timeout.
I totally understand that. I mean, I think that like one of the hardest parts for me was like, I am a comedian. I mean, at the time I was like doing a lot of stand-up and I would like be in places where part of...
When did you stop drinking?
I don't have like a clear date. Like it's been at least 7 years, maybe more, but I'm like, it might be 10. I was often in these places where like some or often actually all of the pay was like drink tickets.
Yeah.
So they're like, come to do a show. And like, as a result, you could take like 5 shots. And I was like, well, I don't want that. But I would just like end up where it was like 4 nights a week. I'm like having multiple drinks that I don't want. But I think that one of the hardest parts was figuring out like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Because it's just like a very socially accepted thing. It's like, I have a drink in my hand, we're drinking together. Now it's like, do I drink soda every night? Like, that was like a really hard part for me.
Yeah.
But I think it is true, at least it's true for me, I wonder if it's true for you, is that there actually was like quite a bit of like creativity and like art into like, what does my life look like without alcohol? As opposed to just being like, I do the same thing everyone else does.
I don't know, it's an interesting way to think about it. And I think also that could like really speak to people. Because a lot of times people are like, well, why would I want to stop drinking? Drinking's awesome. But framed in that way, it's like, oh yeah, I just like started doing what everyone else did. Until it was just like the only thing I did. But it also felt very much like it was my choice. I was on like this private romantic experience with this destructive boyfriend and like, oh my God. But it was really just like the same thing everyone else does. Yeah, life post drinking is like, yeah, you have a lot more time. Like, what are you gonna do with it? And what am I gonna do with it? And what do I like to do? I mean, I've written about this a lot, so sometimes when I find myself like on my talking points, I feel like really obnoxious, but like, so I've written about this and drawn about it many times, but like literally after I quit drinking, maybe even the next day or that same afternoon or something, or that week, I Googled, like, what do people do besides drink? Kind of as a joke to myself, like, the fuck is happening? Because it was sort of like a humorless time where it's like, okay, like phase 2. And there's no answers, right? Like, there's no answers. But actually there like was a very boring answer that for me ended up being very real, which was like, go to a cafe, like go to a museum. I'm like, am I really reading this right now? And one was like, rediscover activities you enjoyed as a child. I'm like, yeah, right, of course. It's like, and I read about people who are like, yeah, I stopped drinking, then I like got back into basketball or whatever, you know? Like people, it's like we liked it. Like when we're kids, we don't drink, you know, and we find a way to enjoy the world.
I think people also have this idea a lot of times that like drugs or alcohol are the key to creativity or being interesting.
Yeah.
And I think there's lots and lots of examples of people like making their best work or making work at all.
When I was in my, I don't know, I was like 26 or something, this guy, friend of my boyfriend at the time, I was like spouting off at the bar and he was like, man, Edith, like some people are really annoying when they're drunk, but like you actually are more creative when you're drunk. And I was like, I knew it. It certainly did not stay that way. I don't even think it was true at the time. And like, I don't know. That's why it's tricky. Like it starts out kind of fun. You have like one or two positive experiences such that like you can no longer really be honest with yourself later on when you're like, am I having that many positive experiences now? Or am I just like repeating the same thing that worked like 8 years ago once or twice?
There is a level of truth for me where I'm like, now at 11 p.m. or certainly at 1 a.m., I am asleep. And I used to not be asleep at those times. And part of that is just age, but part of it is like when you are like drinking, you go out and you like stay out past when you would want to stay out necessarily, or like things just keep happening and accelerating. Because I think like that's just true. It's like I started going to sleep a lot earlier and I woke up earlier and I had more time where I felt good and could like be clear-minded.
Yeah.
That was like probably the most dramatic change for me.
I too. I'm asleep at 9.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't do any, like my life is very boring. Like like I'm being interviewed, right? Like that's cool, good job. I'm surely doing something right, but like there's things that are missing. Like it's like you go too much in one direction, you got to course correct. There's no perfect way to live. You just kind of have to do what you do.
I completely agree.
And like the constraints of my current life are more interesting to me than the constraints of my life when I stopped drinking.
A lot of your artwork, especially the stuff that really resonates with people, it's kind of about things that I think people would say are like normal. Can you tell me a little bit about how you think about that? Because I think those constraints have ended up being like creative fuel for you in a lot of ways.
Yeah, a lot of it's just like not conscious. Like I wake up and I go sit down in my office and I take out my pen. It's like 4:35 in the morning and it's like my special time to myself because the children are sleeping, hopefully, and it's dark outside and it's very quiet and I've got my coffee and I just write about whatever comes to mind from the day before. And like, it usually starts out kind of awkward. I'm like, well, what? Like, oh, like good dinner we had last night or whatever. And then just like a thread will sort of present itself and I find that I want to draw about like, oh yeah, and then my daughter picked this flower and then like the flower reminded me of this lamp and I just sort of write like, I don't know, it's kind of like what I want to create or what my hand wants to draw. And a lot of times like what you see is very little, very small percentage of what I actually do. It's like pretty dull, most of it, like truly dull.
Has making art about the everyday made you appreciate mundane objects or mundane experiences more?
No.
Okay, tell me.
Let's say there's like a comic about how I drove the kids to the supermarket and we like had this funny experience at the supermarket. I'm not like, I can't wait to go to the supermarket because what a good time we had there. It just stays mundane. Like I haven't tapped into any like secret of the universe or anything. I was mostly a writer for like the first, I don't know, like 10 years of my career. But I did a lot of art in college and I liked drawing like little mundane things like and sort of doing portraits of like a spray bottle, but it was just college, no big deal. But I still like doing that stuff, just like pouring a lot of attention and detail into like a screenshot of a YouTube video or something. It's like relishing attention on unexpected destinations or things, I think is like beautiful, I guess. I mean, this sounds like
I love that.
Silly, but it's sort of, I don't know, there was some quote, I don't even know what it is, but it was like something about like the purpose of life is to spend attention at the times when you don't have to.
Well, I think that I've been thinking a lot recently about how a lot of going through the world is it's just easy to not notice things, to be like totally numb and on autopilot. And it's easy to do that, period. And I think that actually like there is something really important about being where you are. I mean, this is like, I came up with Buddhism but just now. Did you notice that? Or like I'm gonna quote Ram Dass in like the worst way, but I do think that part of your art is about like being where you are.
I would say that it's about being where I am for like an hour and a half every morning, because I'm never where I'm at when I'm with the girls. Like, so I draw a comic about being in the supermarket, but like when I'm at the supermarket, I'm like, how do we get out of here? Like, why are they being so annoying? Maybe I'll take a selfie with them so we look cute, but like we gotta get it like the. And then the next morning, like we went to the supermarket. I'm gonna draw. Like we had a nice moment. Like it's like I'm looking back at these moments. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it does feel like. I can't be in the moment all the time. It's like just not, I can't, I'm not doing that right now. That's not my life. But there is this time that I've harnessed that's important to me where I feel like quiet and flow state, something like that. It's like something akin to that where I'm thinking about these moments that are like kind of arising and I'm observing them again in a way that a lot of it's just, I don't know what I'm doing really, but like without too much thought or intention, it's just like, that's what I like to do. Or it feels good to have this moment to just like, let things from yesterday bubble back up to the surface and take a few minutes or half an hour just like lavishing some attention on like, oh yeah, my daughter picked a flower for me. I'm gonna draw that today. Or oh, that like thing broke in the car. It was funny to look at. I'm gonna like draw my memory of it.
But I feel you being like, who am I to say this stuff? Like, I don't have this all figured out.
Yeah.
And I think that I just want to say, yeah, I'm trying to figure this stuff out. And like it's much more helpful to talk to someone who is figuring it out than someone who's like, by the way, and that's how I've written 17 books this year. And I'm the entire New York Times bestseller list is just me. So I just want to say that because I think that like that actually is really important.
Right.
That you don't have to have it all figured out to have something to offer.
I hope so. I mean, I feel that way when I'm feeling optimistic. I mean, a lot of it's also like my husband makes this life possible for me. Like, I was doing this before we met, and then he like financially supports us. So this question of like, oh my God, is my newsletter gonna make enough money to support myself was like, well, I can just move in with my husband. Like we're fine. Then we're gonna have a baby. We're gonna move upstate. Like we can afford this. I can spend the day kind of how I want in part because he's doing this. And I'm not like, it's funny. It's like, I think I'm doing work I like. I'm glad if it resonates with people. I'm not like famous or anything. I'm not wealthy. I'm not making a lot of money off any of this. So like,
but I think that like, I mean, these are all the same questions that I genuinely am wrestling with every day right now. How do you like make time to make art when there's so much else going on in life? Like, how can someone do that? What are 3 things that someone can do that like can create some space and allow them the actual time to do that?
Well, staying up later, waking up early. I have time now in the middle of the day because we have childcare, but it doesn't work. So, like I do more like administrative stuff during the day, but like it's essential to me to work early in the morning before anything enters my mind. I know some people it's like that at night. Well, I have to say it because it's just blocking my mind if I don't say it. But it's like, well, if you don't want to make it, then you don't have to. It's like, I think a lot of people who are artists, they just do it because they feel compelled to. So people who are like, I just don't have time to make art. I'm like, you certainly do.
I actually think that's so important. I wrestle with like, I want to be an artist. Like I want to do that. But it takes so much control, like so much self-control and so much self-discipline to like do it, you know? I think a lot about how you can't just say you're a doctor, right? Like that's illegal. But like the only difference between someone saying being a comedian and not being a comedian is doing comedy. Mm-hmm. It's not like I could go out there and be like, today I did a surgery, so I'm a doctor. Like that's bad. Yeah. But like, if I don't do comedy, then I'm not a comedian. If I don't write, then I'm not a writer. That is the only thing that makes you that. And it takes so much to like actually do it when there's so many other things in life. I think that's like an element of discipline and self-control that I really am wrestling with right now.
I don't know. I mean, I've just had like sort of a different experience.
Tell me.
Which is why I hesitate to be prescriptive about any of it, which is like, these narratives that I thought were true ended up not being true for me. Like, for instance, about drinking. I thought that, like, oh, if you stop drinking, you're going to feel like you're denied something for the rest of your life. And it's going to be so hard. And, like, everywhere you turn for the rest of your life is going to be, like, this pang of temptation. And, oh, God, it's, like, hasn't been like that for me at all. And also, like, oh, that it's going to be the hardest thing. And it's just, like, for some reason, that one day was just, like, okay, I'm done. Who knows what the future holds, right? But like, so that was bizarrely easy. And then I wake up really early and I just like go down and make coffee. It's like it's the best part of my day. So it's not difficult for me to carve it out. It's like I carve the rest of my life around this time. If compulsion, like feeling compelled to make stuff right now is the criteria. It's like, so yeah, it's sort of the opposite. It's like, it's not hard for me to carve this time out. It's also habitual too. It's like, I carved it out when it was very easy for me because it's like, la, 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 I can just wake up and go to the coffee shop and spend as much time as I want here. And so that became like the thing I did. And now it's like, well, I can't take this away from me. This is the cornerstone of my entire life.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like I wonder if maybe this is like to getting into our individual psyches, but I wonder if it also has to do with something about like where you're willing to put yourself on the list versus other people. You know what I mean? Because for me, like writing or telling jokes or performing live, like those are times where I feel like the most myself. And so whenever I make the time to do them, I'm like, what a reminder. But it's really easy for me to not make the time. Especially when you have like to care for family and it's not just about you anymore. When you get to a phase where it's like you're caring for your parents or you're caring for kids. I mean, you were hitting on this with the narratives. Like it's easy to fall into narratives about ourselves and our creativity and who we are and what life will be like, even if they don't necessarily match up with reality.
Yeah, when you're responsible for other people, it's hard to carve out large chunks of uninterrupted time. And I think when people say like, I just don't have the time to do blah, 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 like they're not lying.
You wrote this really beautiful article about running and how sobriety and this physical activity of going for runs and jogging had kind of had an interesting relationship. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Also, I just want to say, I feel like I'm starting to feel just like an imposter where it's like, oh, you journal and you run instead of drink. It's like, yeah, you and like 50% of the population. But yes. Running.
Well, what's the imposter part of that?
Well, it's like, yeah, there's nothing special about what I do. So like, why would anyone want to talk to me about it? Anyway.
Oh, well, I think I can answer that one, which is you don't have to. I do. I think you're special. But I know that literally sounds like a Mr. Rogers episode.
Nice.
I think you're special, Edith. But I do. But I mean, really, I think like the fact that it works for a lot of people is why I'm interested in it. That's why we want to talk to you about it.
Yeah, well, it's just substitute. It's sort of like what you were talking about earlier about like when you make choices with your life that are not just like going with the flow. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks of themselves as going with the flow and just sort of doing whatever. Everyone thinks they're making decisions all the time, which they are. And like, I'm going with the flow with like 90% of my life or something. But like every so often I feel like, oh, you know what? I want to like take a step back and redirect this. Or like maybe I've only done that 3 times in my life and the rest of it is just going with the flow. Anyway, what you were saying about like designing your life once you suddenly have more time or once you make a little choice where you're like, I'm actually not going to do this thing. I think it's really important, and because for me, it was not difficult to stop drinking, but what was difficult was finding stuff to do with the time that emerged. Like I knit, I watched ASMR videos, I watched TV, I read thrillers. I was like, what do I actually like to do? And like a lot of it I didn't really know, but I was like, well, I know I like doing these kind of, reading these like trashy books and watching TV and knitting. Knitting ended up just being like a big thing for me at the time because like you gotta be real, and also like I wanted to like stick it to some people who thought I would probably never be able to. So you're like a harness like spite a little bit too. And anyway, so like you just work with yourself and like your real impulses.
I totally get it.
know?
Of course. And I think like the idea that everything has to be like in this neat, tidy little package where it like makes sense all at once and like I'm doing it for pure reasons is a big reason why a lot of people never make changes.
This also, you were asking about running, and
Yeah,
that
how
was
did
like,
running play into all this?
well, running was it sort of makes sense in retrospect, but I stopped drinking like 9 years ago, and then I started running 6 years ago, and that seems very close, but really there's 3 years, which,
huge.
Is a lot. Yeah, so like that, there was a lot of energy that was just there. So eventually, through a very lucky chain of events, I started running. Like COVID was involved. I had to found this other exercise class that was like pretty good. I did that for like 2 years, and then COVID closed the exercise studio, and I was like, well, I'll do anything but run, because I know I hate running, because running's like the worst thing. I'd like tried it a couple times. It was like completely the wrong fit for me. To the point where I was like, well, I'm sure that I'd be good at some kind of exercise, but it's certainly not running, because like my body's not right. Like the way it moves is just like physically deeply wrong. Like it's just absolutely never gonna happen. I'm gonna walk. I'll walk around the park during COVID and join this Strava group, which is an app for running and other exercise logging. So it's basically like a social media for exercise. So if you do a run or a walk, you can show it to all your friends on Strava, and they'll be like, oh, good job, you did a run. So that was like positive feedback. And then, yeah, I just sort of like started running, walking. And then eventually you can just like kind of keep running. I also had this idea that you're supposed to breathe through your nose.
I've heard that.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, if you don't breathe through your nose, you're like an animal.
Yeah, I read the whole book about
Like
this.
if you have to breathe through your mouth, you must stop immediately. Like you're gonna die or something. Like that's just such terrible form. And then my friend was like, that's not true. And I was like, oh really? She's like, yeah, no, everybody breathes through their mouth when they run. I was like, are you serious? And yeah, it's true. So so I just breathe through my mouth like everybody else who runs.
I'm breathing through every orifice while I'm running.
I'm like a pretty good runner now, and I have to breathe through my mouth all the time. So I mean, and your nose.
What, other than where you're breathing, what are you thinking about while you run?
I don't know, nothing special. I ruminate. Like in a fight with my husband, I'll think about how wrong he is and how right I am. I don't know. It's like, when you're a runner, you want to convince other people to run, but I know that nobody wants that.
Yeah, that's
like, and it's never worked. Like everyone's been trying for a long time, but like nobody cares. No one's like, I'm not a runner and I hate running, but I'm just gonna like pay attention to some of these essays that these like proud people want to share. So I'm always like trying to reach myself. If I could have been encouraged to run earlier, but like it would never have happened. So.
People always tell me that when they run, they like get to a place where like their mind clears and they're in this euphoric state. And when I am running, I am only thinking about, when will I be able to stop running? Like that's like, when I run, I'm like, just get to the sign and then you can stop. And then I get to the sign, I go, okay, just go to the tree. But like, it is just like a constant hostage negotiation in my head.
How often do you run?
Very rarely.
Okay. With running, I got to a point where I could maintain a trot sort of indefinitely.
Wow.
And I thought that felt like I had started like a new phase of life. I was like, oh, I get it now. Like you can just kind of keep going. And I was like, oh, I'm like it was a good feeling. So like those are some of the good feelings. And then you get to a point where you're not thinking about running. You're just kind of thinking about whatever. And it can kind of hurt, but that's just part of it. You're sort of thinking about something else.
You talked about how after you stopped drinking, you like quite literally Googled like, what do people do other than drink? And like, 3 years later, you started running. You have all these things that, you used to mostly be a writer. Then you started publishing your artwork as well. So there's been this process of like self-discovery, of asking yourself like, what is it that I do? And how do I spend my time? How has that process been an ongoing process? And how has it been something where like you've found things and then you want them to stick and be pillars?
I just do what I like to do. I don't know. Somehow I think I missed the
I think that's a great answer. I think that is the answer. I mean, because my question is kind of like, how often do you figure out what you like to do, and how often do you just stick to it?
It's difficult. I feel like what I'm trying to say and what you're maybe trying to ask, which is maybe not true at all, is like, yeah, how do you find what you like to do?
Yeah.
And how do you take a moment to be like, do I even like what I'm doing right now? And like, how do I change it? And I think a lot of it is just luck. Like looking back on my own circumstances, that's why it feels difficult for me to recommend things to people, because like, a lot of it has just been chance and luck and being fortunate that the things I like to do are pretty easy. Like, oh yeah, I still like to draw. Like I loved to draw as a kid. It's like I still really like to draw. And I like to write. It's like I do my little writing and I do my little drawing and I do my little writing, and somehow it's just like really fun. It hasn't run out. And I didn't know that I liked running. That was totally new. I thought I had no sports stuff. if you want to find stuff that you might like to do, sometimes it's useful to think about things that you know that you hate doing. Because like for me, I'm like, well, I hate running, like I hate bicycling. So like maybe someday I'll get into biking.
I know that I'm so different than the person I was 5 years ago, and certainly than the person I was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. But I sometimes forget that like the person who I will be in 5 years is really different than who I am now. Like I think like, surely this is me now.
Yeah, like, okay, I've finally gotten to the place where I coast until it's over.
Yeah, now I'm me.
And the answer is dull. It's like, just keep testing. Everything you think you know about yourself, this is probably not true. It's like, well, great. Like, what does that even mean? Like, I don't know. Realistically, I don't know. I think it's just like being open to new experiences, retrying things. Because sometimes like the situation is just totally different or you're totally different.
Edith, thank you so much for being on the show. This was an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of How to Be a Better Human. Before you go, please click the like and subscribe button to get alerts on inspiring TED Talks and interviews. You can also head over to Ted's own podcast channel, the TED Audio Collective, where we publish even more video podcasts. Thank you so much and hope to see you soon.